What motivates me to create art is just that it's a necessity for me. I want to say that there can't really be a day that goes by that I don't think about creating an idea or putting it on paper or putting it on like an image. And the reason why is because I have created this very intimate relationship with my art and I, where I use it as a means of communication of the things that I think about or that I feel, or the way that I process my feelings and emotions. My name is Alejandra Martinez. I am a plastic artist. I am a painter, a poet, and a performer, and I'm from Palm View, Texas. The themes that I pursue in my artwork often deal with the emotions of feeling hopelessness, feeling as if the world is sometimes against you. When I first started pursuing plastic art, I remember I was a college student, and I remember I wanted to do art as a living, how I wanted to become a working plastic artist, but also how I wanted to make a living sometimes didn't make sense to me. I often fell into these like depressive episodes, and those are just the themes that I pursued, I guess, inevitably. I started with collage, and I started really getting into the surreal, which is another theme that I discovered. And I wanted to make sense of the world with the art that I made, because I didn't make sense of the world to begin with when I was kind of discovering what I wanted to do. Plastic art, I define it as somebody who works with the physical material. So I'm still considered a fine artist, but the reason why I accentuate plastic art is because I work with physical material. I want to, in a way, make it be known that I work with things that you can touch, in comparison to like a filmmaker or a photographer that works in the digital sense. So initially, I found inspiration from one of the artists that I always attribute like my starting point of how I started with this kind of body of work was Giorgio Chirico. I think his work really stayed with me because when I first viewed it, there was just like this quality of the painting or the rendered images that he had that made me realize that I wanted to do stuff like him. He would often include easels in his paintings, which I thought were really cool. Because in a way he's bringing the things that you wouldn't necessarily talk about in painting, which is painting itself. Sometimes you paint about something and you kind of bring a conversation into that, but he was bringing the conversation of painting and being an artist. And when you're trying to make sense of who you are also as an artist within the space that you are. So I think that is something that kind of stayed with me, and all of those kind of artworks were something that inspired me. I also attribute my start of being an artist to fashion. I remember Alessandro Michele, the art director for Gucci. I remember his work in clothing and the way that he would design all of these bags and the clothes. I remember it was something that inspired me in my collage work, like these vibrant colors and the stuff that I collect too. It's just very niche. And I wanted to kind of bring it together in like a union with my collage work, with my earlier stuff. Some of the elements in my earlier work were a lot of magazine ads, so a lot of faces, colors, and then it kind of evolved to using a lot of symbols such as like citrus fruits. I used a lot of hourglasses. Beetles were another thing that I did a lot. And it was because I wanted to kind of create this visual language that was repeated oftentimes until it became kind of its own world in a sense. And then recently, as I want to say like a year ago, I started with like the whole jester, like the clown, kind of incorporating to what was already there with my previous work. And I feel like those elements, I was inspired by either like art history or just things that I see online too, like in Instagram, which is a very big inspiration in my work. But those elements are one of those things that I always work with, just because I want to create kind of like a very recognizable visual language. You have to persevere through the challenges that you do, because this is not an easy thing to do, and you have to believe in yourself before you can ever ask anyone else to believe in you. I speak out of privilege too, because my parents have always supported my work, and they've always supported what I've done. It's usually more the case that people don't support it than it does. But what I can say to those people, especially if you're a young artist or if you're recently coming into the profession, is that you keep an open mind and you keep very consistent in what you do, because it's a hard profession, because there's uncertainty. There's a lot of challenges that come with, number one, like presenting your art. Sometimes just getting the credentials yourself to like believe, like, should I even be doing this? Like, is this even like going to be profitable? Because that's the thing like that we think about. In the end, art is just about communicating and, sending a message. It doesn't matter what, and everybody has certain issues, certain conversations that they want to bring attention to. If you really want that, then do it for yourself. Start working every day if you can. It's the small time that you can, and be very persistent with it.